diplomatie et de la susceptibilité, parce que ce n'est pas non plus à la Commission européenne ou à la Banque centrale d'imposer, de dire vous devez faire ci, vous devez faire ça. Donc c'est un jeu qui est quand même extrêmement délicat à mener, mais je pense qu'il y a quand même des efforts pour mettre en place une administration fiscale plus efficace, grâce à des exemples qui sont donnés par d'autres pays qui ont assuré ce travail de base, mais personne n'est parfait. Hein, personne n'est parfait. Vous avez certainement entendu parler des LuxLeaks, des prescrits fiscaux, de tous ces accords qui permettent à des sociétés d'échapper à l'impôt ou d'en payer très peu. Donc il n'y a pas un pays à pointer qui serait la Grèce, mais il y en a beaucoup, beaucoup. Et on parlait tout à l'heure de crise, ce n'est peut-être pas une crise, enfin c'est une crise, et je pense que la fiscalité, la politique de fiscalité qui se contentait, disons, d'harmoniser les taux de TVA va devoir évoluer, justement sous l'impact de ces révélations qui font qu'il n'est pas normal que dans un pays on paye des impôts et que dans un autre on n'en paye pas pour le même type d'activité. Ça ne va pas jusqu'à harmoniser la fiscalité, mais voilà un dossier qui n'était pas tellement prévu dans le programme de travail de la Commission qui était présenté au Parlement, mais qui tout d'un coup prend de l'importance vu la sévérité de la crise et la nécessité, disons, de conduire des politiques plus harmonieuses. Donc, tout ne se dit pas non plus publiquement. Je veux dire qu'il y a beaucoup de choses, beaucoup de travail qui se fait en coulisses. Ce n'est pas facile. Le gouvernement de Tsipras est allé plusieurs fois devant les urnes ou alors a fait recours au référendum pour s'assurer qu'il y ait un soutien populaire à cette politique. Nous espérons tous, maintenant que la Grèce est quand même arrimée à l'euro, nous espérons tous que ça produise des résultats positifs et qu'il y ait un mieux économique. La crise des migrants ne venant encore compliquer les choses. Mais si on regarde un peu les autres pays tels que le Portugal ou l'Irlande, qui ont fait face à de tels problèmes et qui ont également bénéficié des prêts des organismes financiers européens ou internationaux, il y a quand même des signes d'amélioration qui, malgré, disons, la difficulté des politiques qui ont été imposées au niveau national, je pense en Irlande, je pense au Portugal, il y a quand même des signes d'amélioration. Donc c'est un processus qui est surveillé de très très près par les députés parce qu'ils veulent évaluer si les politiques sont vraiment efficaces. Et comme il y a beaucoup d'experts au niveau mondial, l'économie n'est pas une science exacte, comme vous le savez. Il y a des experts qui sont, par exemple, des prix Nobel qui critiquent beaucoup cette politique. Il faut tenir compte également de cette politique et le Parlement a une position quand même beaucoup plus critique par rapport à l'efficacité de ces politiques. Mais je vois qu'il y a beaucoup, beaucoup de bras qui se lèvent, donc je vais abréger ma réponse.
Merci. Nous allons peut-être regrouper les questions. Voilà, je crois qu'à ce stade, il y a beaucoup d'entre vous. Bon, on va essayer de répondre au maximum. Il y avait une question numéro 25.
Thank you. I'm Peter, a representative of Poland. I have a question to the Mr. on the left. You told that Europe needs lots of European policies for every country in European Union. But I have a question. What do you think, and do you think that there should be things that make countries compete with each other so people can choose if they can live, if they want to live in Germany or in Poland or in United Kingdom? Thank you. Yes.
Ah, ok. Ok, donc ça c'est 25. Le 389, s'il vous plaît. 389. Pouvez-vous vous présenter et poser votre question?
Hi, I'm Marius from Romania, and I wanted to ask that if you think the European Union should be something more than just international union, should be something like the USA, a country, in fact, because I see that this is a solution to many problems that the European Union has. One of them being the lack of authority over its member states.
Merci. Numéro 15. Mademoiselle, c'est à vous. Ah, pardon, vous aviez la lettre. Ok, pardon. 338. 338. 338.
Hello, my name is Katerina, and I'd like to ask you something about the financial agenda. We're all aware of the austerity measures implemented in Greece. I can assure you there have been no benefits from the austerity regarding unemployment rates. The thing is, the economic policy is often formed behind closed doors from institutions like the Eurogroup. And I'd like to ask, what would the role of the European Parliament, the only democratically elected institution, regarding the economy policy? Thank you.
Ok. 473. 473.
Hello. Well, I'm from Greece. I'm called Alexandra. And I would like to know, well, Europe is based on basic human rights, and it's supposed to exist for its humans. But I see that today everything has to do with money and wealth of the strong nations. So how can we approach this problem in order to create a Europe for its people? Thank you.
D'accord. On va peut-être déjà essayer de répondre à ces... Ok, une dernière. Donc 259. Oui.
Hello, thanks. I'm Daniel. I'm from Northern Ireland. You've talked a great talk today about democracy and how there's a great range of parties here from the extreme right to the extreme left. But do you not agree with me that in the recent example of Greece, that the EU is more than happy to throw out its democratic principles when it doesn't get its own way? Do you think we should interfere in this way, and if so, can you explain why?
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you for the questions. I'll try to start with the first one. Competition between member states, what should be left in the countries, and it links directly to the other question: should the EU maybe become much more like a United States of Europe? I think it's very interesting when you're looking for answers to these questions to look into the history where we come from. After the last huge war which devastated Europe, World War II, and the aftermath, there was a lot of talk and a lot of ideas of people who said, how do we avoid war? How do we make life in Europe more just? And how do we stabilize democracy and the rights of citizens, as you mentioned? And many people, for instance, even people like Winston Churchill were saying, the solution to this is a United States of Europe, modeled along the idea of the United States of America, but of course with certain differences. It's interesting that when Winston Churchill spoke about that, he excluded the United Kingdom from that project. He said that's something the continent should be doing. Quite interesting to look at these thoughts back then. Now, the way Europe has been constructed is both an advantage and, of course, a weakness. Quoting Jean Monnet, one of the founding fathers of Europe, is that Europe will not be created as a big project with one stroke, but it will be a project of little steps, step by step. So we started with the economy, creating a single market, abolishing borders. We included agriculture into this, and step by step, Europe was growing in those areas where it logically made sense that we work together, and new ideas came to it. So I think this is where the slogan comes from. We are united in diversity. And as long as we maintain the basic principles of freedom of movement, where you as European citizens, we as European citizens are free to move, to travel, to work in different countries, these differences will also play against each other, competition. Countries which are lagging behind will try to adapt better policies to be able to develop their economies and be more competitive. So this is the idea. Of course, and many people from Greece and Spain have asked this, the reality looks a little bit different, because if you're economically strong, if your government is strong, if your government is much more accountable, much more transparent, if there's more political debate in society, then it leads directly to more prosperity and to less waste and to more efficient government. And that, of course, in a single market means that these countries or regions which are strong also gain much more out of a single market than those regions which are lagging behind. Now, we also have a concept of what we call social Europe, and that means that we help these countries lagging or regions lagging behind through solidarity, through development funds, through investment, and through sharing of know-how. And in some regions this works very, very well. In some regions it doesn't. And the problem you see with countries like, in Greece is of course a more extreme case, but countries which are heavily in debt, where the possibilities of a government to act is very limited, is of course very problematic. And governments, irrespectively from which political color they are facing painful solutions usually for their citizens. And it can be compared to a family which has jobs and is earning money and saving money, to a family which has no jobs, is living constantly in debt, and its situation is getting worse and worse. If we would not have this European solidarity, we would be even worse off. I think that's very clear. But the debate we have to have is, how do we make this solidarity and this help we have available work? And here the European Commission and the Parliament is playing a very important role, because we are looking at best practices. We can sanction countries which do not use the funds available to them properly. How effective we are is of course debatable. But here you have an institution, the Parliament, which is discussing these things very openly and which is not afraid to criticize also big problems. So through this pressure, through this criticism, we hope that problems which exist can be resolved, because those responsible, be it governments or local governments or people who are in charge of this money, have to understand that they are acting according to rules, and they are acting in a public space. So if you have cases where money is embezzled or where it's not spent very nicely, you have to know that it will be persecuted and the money will be stopped, which of course is to the detriment of the citizens again. And this is the situation in which we are. Whether that's efficient or not is debatable, but that's how the EU works. And I think if we would take away these instruments we have, we would be much, much worse off than we are at the moment.
Merci Pavel.